Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the Saving Links with Twilio tutorial on Velocity 360. On the last tutorial we tested the endpoints for creating a bookmark and it worked, of course. So now we're going to create bookmarks a little bit more seamlessly by entering only the URL, just the link. So in order to do that, we have to set up a scraper which will fetch the content from a link and then scrape out the other details, the metadata, specifically the title, the description, and the image if there is one. So we're going to use a scraping module for that called Cheerio. Now actually we did do a scraping video in our tutorial series before, and you might want to take a look at that, although I'll briefly explain it again. But we did a web scraping tutorial series here where we cover the mechanics of web scraping using Cheerio. So if web scraping is completely new to you, you might want to take a look at this one. It is free. But again, we will rehash the content here in this tutorial just more quickly. So, excuse me, if web scraping is completely foreign to you, then you might want to take a look at this just to get a quick intro on the concept. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So what we want to do first is create a route in the backend called scrape. And here is where we're going to test our scraping code. So let's open that up. I will just type this from scratch, but I would normally just copy and paste from another route. Router. Okay, so here I am simply setting up a confirmation to make sure that we are seeing the URL. That's going to be passed into the query string of the path. Speaking of, let's go ahead and set that path. So right now we're going to import the scrape route, and then we're going to set the path. And then let's run the server. And then scrape. Okay, and there it is. So the route is connected. So now let's go back here. Let's make sure that the user has to enter a URL so we don't do any unnecessary requests. So if this is null, okay, so now that's taken care of. Now here we want to actually scrape the website in order to get the title, the image, and the description. So again, we want to make this as user-friendly as possible so that the user doesn't have to enter all that information. So we're going to use super agent to make the request. So let's go ahead and do that first. Okay, so here's some basic error handling. Just return the error, basically. This would be a super agent error, so can't really predict what that would be. So just cover it cautiously like that, and then here let's return the actual text from the response. Okay, so server's running, everything is smooth, so let's go ahead and run that. And cool. So now again we're getting the data from the posted URL, but pay close attention that this is coming from our server. So what that means is, what that confirms is that we're just simply seeing the contents of ESPN.com on our server. That's all. So what that really confirms is that we're getting the data right here. So this is the HTML. So here, and now this is what we want to scrape. So scrape the HTML. So now here's where we use Cheerio to do that. So we want to import Cheerio into the root. And let's scrape it. This would make more sense if we pick an actual article rather than the entire home website. So let's pick an article right here. This isn't really the best one. Okay, so let's go with this guy. Okay, so the reason I'm picking this is because I'm pretty certain that they're going to have a certain set of tags. If we open up the HTML, we're looking for what's called these meta tags, specifically this set right here, where it gives you the title, the description, the URL, and an image, which is everything we want. So if we just find these tags from the HTML, we can just scrape them out and use the values of that to insert into the database, and rather than having the user type in all that information. So that really saves some time for the user. That makes it a much better user experience. Let's go ahead and do that. So we want to use Cheerio to load the content. Now Cheerio is a scraping module that gives you a jQuery, basically jQuery set of functionality on the back end. It's a pretty close match to exact jQuery. So if you're already familiar with jQuery, then this is a pretty comfortable API for you. If not, no big deal, just learn it as if this is how Cheerio works, and that's fine. So okay, let's say element. Okay, so what we're telling Cheerio to do right here is find all the meta tags and then loop through them, and we're going to do what we need to do with those meta tags. So we're going to go through all these meta tags, but we don't want all of them. We only want these, the ones with OG URL, OG title, OG description, and etc. So that's in the property attribute. So what we want to do is see if that attribute exists on the element. This is each individual meta tag. So here, what we want to do is check if it exists. So element attributes property. So let me just test that endpoint real quick. Okay. So now here, let's console log it. And there it is. So these are the tags we really care about. And I wish that autoplay didn't happen. Okay, so here we have the meta tags that we've stripped out, but we don't want all of these. We only want this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and that guy. So let's go ahead and make sure those are only the ones we get. So OG tags. URL, title, description, and image. So URL, title, description, and image. Let's call these properties. Okay, so if properties index of okay, so now it's only going to console log the tag if it falls under one of these four listed. So if I do a reload now we're getting only the four that we want. So now we're even closer to the data that we asked for. So that's good. Okay, great. I'm going to make this a little bit more readable. Let's see here. Okay. So what this is saying is that if the property doesn't exist, then return true is basically a way of breaking out of the loop, meaning just continue, just keep moving along, ignore it. Okay, let's see. Okay, looks good. Everything still worked, and I'm going to do that one more time right here. Okay, so basically here what we're saying is that if the property is not among this array of values, just ignore it. Keep moving forward. So it's just a readability thing, nothing crazy there. However, I should test it just to be sure. Alrighty. So still in business. So now let's actually grab the value. So we want to check console log. Here's the actual HTML element, and the property is what we want either the title, the URL, whatever. And the content is the actual value. So it would be better if we actually rendered the content as well. So let's try this. So the content attribute is what we want. Beautiful. Now we have the URL, which is right here, the title, which is right here, the description, and an image. And there it is. So we got everything we need by just entering a URL. So everything worked. Looks good. We're all set to go with the scraping. Let's finish out the process a little bit more fluidly though. Let's see here. Var page info, and then we will populate the page info property content, and then we do want to remove these OG prefixes because that's not how it's going to map to our database. So let's say prop equals replace and just remove the OG prefix. And then here, instead of sending the HTML back, because we don't really want that, we want the page info. Confirmation. Call it meta properties. How's that? Properties. And let's see here. So scrape. Very nice. So now we got the properties out of the HTML page, and returned as just raw JSON. And that's it. So we're good to go on that. It's probably worth testing one or two more if I go to another website and then pick another link, pick that, enter that as the URL parameter. And there it is. That is the title and image and all the good stuff from the page I just selected. Good. So now the user simply has to enter this value and all the other content will be stripped out from the HTML using the scraping endpoint that we just set up. So this was successful. So now in the next video, we're going to test that by going back here and having the user enter only the URL, nothing else, and then enter that content into the backend as a bookmark entry. And then once we confirm that, we're going to recreate that flow using Twilio and SMS messaging. So I hope you were able to follow along, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks.